Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for meeting recordings in the new stream. My name is Joe McClanahan and I'm from the stream team.
I'm Brad from the OneDrive and SharePoint team.
And I'm Sam Chung from the Teams team.
We're here to talk to you about how Stream, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams are coming together to make a great meeting recordings experience. We're going to start off talking about our new stream vision. And this is something you may have heard about from other talks, but it's really important context as we talk about our future plans. We're going to talk in detail about Teams meeting recordings. We'll do a demo, talk about some of the governance considerations, show our roadmap, and talk about how we can find out more about what we're doing and what our plans are. So starting with that new stream vision, Stream is all about empowering every M365 user to achieve more with fast, intelligent video. That means Stream expands its role to unlock the intelligence of the Microsoft Graph for all videos in the M365 ecosystem. It means the Stream web app follows the model for the Office web apps that lets you easily work with video just like any other document. It also means that Stream is going to leverage the power of OneDrive and SharePoint to store and manage video using the standard compliance, governance, permissions, external sharing, APIs that already exist in SharePoint and OneDrive. It's also flexible to allow customers to create their own video portals using SharePoint templates and really customize them and brand them for their company and their scenarios. And Stream also delivers new intelligent capabilities around creation and consumption of video. So what is Stream today? For organization, we have our single Stream portal, and it's broken out by channels and groups where you can discover new video, you can embed in other locations, and you can see my videos. For consumption, we support deep links to videos, videos that are embedded, transcripts and search of those transcripts. And for creation, you can do screen recordings, meeting recordings, mobile capture, and trim. But what is Stream tomorrow? It's organizing video your way, consuming video in context, and creating video everywhere. So you'll be able to create your own video portal if you'd like, using the SharePoint templates and customize that. You can organize content by existing M365 concepts like sites, teams, communities, and folders. You'll be able to discover new videos via office.com. You can embed in other locations, and you'll be able to see your videos and videos that are relevant to you in the new Stream web app, which I'll talk about in just a second. You'll also be able to consume video using direct links and embeds that'll include transcripts, and video in M365 will work kind of like a file. And that means you'll be able to do things that you expect to do with files in M365. And that includes things like search and doing an enterprise search of all the videos across all of your M365 ecosystem. You'll also be able to create video everywhere. And what I mean there is you'll be able to do a screen recording in context in the app you're using. You'll be able to do a meeting recording. You'll be able to do mobile capture in more apps. And you'll be able to do trim everywhere. So let's talk about the Stream web app. The Stream web app is your destination for creating and discovering video, screen recordings, playlists, and podcasts. It's tightly integrated in Office.com. So if you already understand or are used to PowerPoint.office.com or Word.office.com, this should feel pretty familiar to you. And it shows video across M365 that's relevant to you. We'll also have links to your company portals that you create in SharePoint and to Classic Stream. So that's a brief overview of the new Stream. You can find out more by watching our other sessions where we'll go into more depth. But for now, I'll hand it off to Brad, who's going to go into detail about our plans for Teams meeting recordings.
We're really excited that the first step in the journey to the new Stream entails storing newly created Teams meeting recordings on the OneDrive and SharePoint platform. Doing so provides a lot of benefits to existing customers and unblocks some would-be Teams customers with features like information governance and external sharing and permissions. I'll walk you through the full list of the benefits on the next slide. COVID has had a big impact on many of our lives. It has highlighted the increased importance and value of meeting recordings for those working from home, learning remotely, or working and collaborating in essential fields like medicine. Because of that, we're really excited about delivering the new Stream experience first for Teams meeting recordings on OneDrive and SharePoint Online. In a few minutes, we'll walk you through a demo that will show you how the new experience looks. Before that, I wanted to walk you through some of the values and benefits you're going to get with the move to SharePoint and OneDrive. I'll also walk you through some of the gaps that will exist at launch and how we plan on closing those. We get asked on a daily basis to provide the ability to set retention policies on meeting recordings. We heard loud and clear how much you want this feature. With the move to OneDrive and SharePoint, as soon as we launch, you'll be able to set meeting recording specific retention policies. You'll of course also get the full suite of all of the native OneDrive and SharePoint information governance features. Just like other files in OneDrive and SharePoint, the owner of the recording will be able to share the video with both internal and external or guest users. This is the first time you'll be able to share meeting recordings with external or guest users. Those users will also be able to leverage the native request access flow if they were not part of the initial meeting or initial share. Aside from those big hitters, you're going to get several additional great benefits, including the full depth of OneDrive and SharePoint storage, faster recording availability, Go Local support for storing these recordings in-country, multi-geo support, bring your own key support, and improved transcript functionality. Moreover, as new intelligent video features and enhanced OneDrive SharePoint file management features roll out in the future for years to come, these recordings will reap the benefits of those automatically and immediately. We want to provide these benefits to you as soon as possible, so we're going to launch with a few feature gaps that we're working hard to close in the first half of next year. Although we are introducing more sophisticated sharing capabilities, there will not initially be a way to block users from downloading the recordings to their machine. There will also be some transcript-related gaps. Specifically, only English transcripts will be generated, but a wider range of languages will be available next year. You will not be able to search or edit the transcripts or their content initially either. Again, we think the value of the move to OneDrive and SharePoint significantly outweighs the initial gaps and are excited for you to try it out. Now we're going to demo what that experience is going to look like.
Thanks, Brad. Let's take a look at how this is going to look in the product. So I'm going to join this meeting and I'll start a recording as well. I'll let that go for just a few seconds. And then we'll stop it. And just like you'd expect, the recording is present inside of the chat history for that meeting. When I click on that, it opens it up inside of OneDrive, and I'll be able to play back that recording. Now, all the invitees to the meeting have already been added to the permissions, but I can share this with additional folks using the standard sharing dialogues in OneDrive and SharePoint. So we'll go ahead and send this to someone inside my tenant, but we'll also want to send this to someone outside my tenant, an external user. And this is something you couldn't do with the classic stream experience today. So we sent that off. And just so you can see, these recordings are just files inside of my OneDrive for Business. They're all put inside of this special recordings folder, and you'll be able to see them and act on them just like you would any other file in OneDrive for Business. Next, let's look and see how this looks with a channel meeting. So here's a channel meeting, and you can see the recording for that channel meeting here. When I click on that, it opens up in the SharePoint document library that backs this channel, and I can play it back. And of course, the permissions are all attached to the team's team and channel where this meeting happened. So if someone new joins your team, they could catch up on what's been going on over the last few months just by being permissioned to that team and getting access to all the files that are part of that team and that channel. And here you can see the file.
In the demo, we showed you what the new experience looks like, but I'd still like to walk through how the storage, sharing, and permissioning is going to look for future reference. We can generally think about two types of meeting recordings. The first type is channel meetings, which are meetings started within a channel between some or all of the members of that channel. The second type is really all other meeting types, such as ad hoc meetings or scheduled or recurring meetings with 2 or more people. The channel meeting recordings will be stored in a folder named Recordings under a folder with the channel's name inside the team's document library. For all other types of meetings, the recording will be stored in the OneDrive of the person who hits the record button under a special folder named Recordings. These recording files will consume existing OneDrive and SharePoint storage quotas. I'm now going to walk you through the new sharing and permissioning experience for meeting recordings on OneDrive and SharePoint. Like normal, when a recording concludes, the link to the meeting recording will show up in the meeting chat history for both channel meetings and all other types of meetings. The default permissions that provide access to that shared recording file are different for channel meetings versus all other meeting types. Permissions for channel meetings are pretty straightforward. They simply inherit the permissions that already exist for the channel's owners and members, just like any other file type in the channel. For all other meetings, the person that organized the meeting and the person that hits the record button are the only ones that have edit access by default. All other invitees of the meeting will have read access by default. However, to add an extra layer of protection, guests and external invitees will not get access by default. Anyone with edit permissions will have the ability to explicitly share with external and guest users from other tenants or other companies. That, of course, is one of the big benefits of the move to OneDrive and SharePoint. In case the meeting recording owner forgets, those external users will be able to leverage the request access flow to ask for access to the recording. Something we consistently hear as a requirement to unblock the adoption of Teams is the ability to set retention policies on meeting recordings. For our customers that have the M365 E5 compliance package, you can do just that now that recordings will be stored on OneDrive and SharePoint. To do that, you will navigate to the Compliance Center. There, you can use the keyword query editor to target all meeting recordings and/or use additional labels to target specific types of meetings. With that, you can define policies to retain, delete, or retain then delete those files. For example, you can define a policy that says all meeting recordings must be deleted 30 days after recording, except those labeled as training sessions, which can live for up to 1 year. Our recommended model is to allow end users to label recordings, for example, as training sessions where appropriate. Leveraging these policy settings is helpful in improving your privacy, security, and legal posture. Now I'm going to talk about the timeline for the rollout of the new experience. You'll be able to take advantage of all of the great benefits we've just outlined by opting in early Q4 of this year. By the middle of Q4 of this year, we are going to default all tenants into the new experience. Finally, in the first quarter of next year, all new meeting recordings will be required to go to the OneDrive and SharePoint platform instead of Stream. But don't worry, you will still have access to all of the existing recordings in Stream.
Now, continuing on with our timeline conversation, I next want to talk about our feature roadmap. Now, we've already talked a lot about all the different benefits that we're going to be introducing right at launch. And these benefits include things like the retention policy, the ability to sharing across tenants, the fact that your recordings will become available far quicker than they were before, along with our Go Local story. But beyond those initial benefits, we still got other things that we're working on for next year. Now, some of these are going to be feature gaps, but we still have a lot of other features here that are brand new for the first time. So going through this list, looking at H1 of next year, we have things like automatic expiration or deletion of recordings. I'm actually going to spend a little more time on that on the next slide. Next, moving on, we have additional language supports for transcripts. We're going to be able to also introduce transcript editing. In addition, the next bullet point here is talking about the fact that we're also going to begin migrating over recordings from Stream over to OneDrive for Business. With all the great benefits that we're introducing for OneDrive for Business, it would be unfortunate if you couldn't have those benefits with your existing recordings that are currently residing within Stream. So beginning of next year, we're going to start migrating all of the Stream recordings over to OneDrive for Business. The next bullet point there is talking about our brand new Stream player. There will be another session. I'll talk explicitly about that. Moving forward, next on to the second half of next year, we'll be introducing the searching for transcripts. We'll also be introducing e-discovery improvements. For example, you'll now be able to find your team meeting recordings based off of attendees. And finally, we'll also be introducing additional policy supports and additional features and functionalities that people have asked for the recordings. I next want to spend some time drilling into one of the features that I talked about before, and that's the Teams meeting recordings expiration. The ability to delete or expire recordings is one of the most requested features we have within the recording space here. And it makes sense. When we looked at the data on our side, we noticed that more than 99% of recordings don't even get looked at after 60 days. So it doesn't really make any sense to keep them around. So this is something that we're going to be introducing in the first half of next year. This will allow customers and tenant admins to automatically declutter and remove their old recordings. Now, this will apply to all new recordings after the launch of this feature. By default, we will set the expiration to 60 days, but tenant admins can change that to whatever value makes sense for your organization. In addition, individual users can modify for individual meetings depending on the situation. So, for example, if an end user is making a training video, he may want to have that last for far longer than even a month or two. It may want to last for a few years. So these are all settings that can be customized up and down the stack. In addition, one thing I do want to call out is the fact that Teams expiration or Teams automatic deletion does not replace or override the retention policies that can be set towards Teams meeting recordings. At the very beginning, we've talked about one of the benefits of moving to OneDrive for Business is the fact that you can now set retention policies on Teams meeting recordings. Those retention policies will always override any sort of automatic expiration or automatic deletion that may be set via this feature. Next, I want to talk about the opting in and opting out experiences. As we talked about before, at launch, only customers that opt in will be able to have their Teams meeting recordings automatically moved to OneDrive for Business. Afterwards, we will be moving into an opt-out experience. And then after that, we'll make it such that all Teams meeting recordings automatically go to OneDrive for Business. Now, going back to the opting in and opting out experiences, we've enabled opt-in and opt-out via a new attribute within the CS Teams meeting policy. This attribute is the recording storage mode. To opt in, you'll have to set recording storage mode to OneDrive for Business. To opt out, you set recording storage mode to Stream. It should also be noted that if you do not set a value for recording storage mode, the default is automatically Stream. However, the default is different than actively setting the value to Stream. And it's important to distinguish the two because of the opt-out phase. When we hit opt-out, what we're going to do is we will look to see which customers have set recording storage mode explicitly to Stream. So if you haven't set a value to the recording storage mode, although your recordings may still be going to Stream, once opt-out happens, your recordings will now automatically move to OneDrive for Business. If you do not want to have your recordings automatically move to OneDrive for Business during the opt-out phase, you need to make sure that recording storage mode is explicitly set to Stream. Now, just like any other attribute within the Teams meeting policy, you can set this at the user level, group level, or tenant level. And finally, I wanted to end today's presentation on this final slide. Here you'll find links for Stream as well as links for Teams. In addition to the links that we're showing here, there will be additional blog posts and web page updates that we will be releasing as we get closer towards the actual feature launch date. But with that, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen to Joe, Brad, and myself. We're all very excited about having this opportunity to share this information with you. It's been a tremendous amount of work, but we just can't wait to get it into everybody's hands. Thank you again.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks for coming.